Hi, I'm Glory, and I'm a strength and conditioning coach for moms. The first step to healing your pelvic floor is connecting to your breath. In this video, we are going to go over how your breath, core, and pelvic floor work together as a unit for optimal function and performance, and how improper breath mechanics can really be straining on your core and pelvic floor and lead to problems later. Then we will go over different exercises that you can incorporate into your routine to make your core and breath working together become a habit, including deep core exercises, how to incorporate a kegel properly, and a breathwork technique for full core connection and relaxation of your pelvic floor. To get a better understanding of how our core and breath are working together, I'll give a brief explanation of this. Our diaphragm is located underneath our ribs right here. Every time we breathe in, our diaphragm is pushing down. Our pelvic floor, working together with our diaphragm, also pushes down and relaxes. Now, when you exhale, both of them come back up. As you're exhaling, your deep core will engage to assist in the recoil and the exhale of the air. Now, when you're breathing, if you have a healthy breathing mechanic, as you take an inhale, your belly should expand. You'll feel it in other places, but primarily your belly should expand because your diaphragm is pushing down. As your belly expands, air can go down into your pelvic floor and other areas of your core. As you exhale, your belly should flatten. Now, a common mistake a lot of women do is when they breathe in, it's a big chest breath, and when they breathe out, they protrude their belly outward. So this is the wrong technique. What happens here is our natural mechanic of our deep core and our diaphragm and pelvic floor are being resisted against. Okay, so when we inhale into our chest, we're going opposite of where our diaphragm wants to go. And when we exhale and push out into our belly, our pelvic floor and diaphragm who want to come up are being forced against by getting pushed down, and our deep core is getting pushed out when it wants to come in. So you are opposing what your body naturally wants to do. Over time, this puts a lot of strain on our core, can worsen things like diastasis. Your pelvic floor gets a lot of strain on it. It can get really tight or weak and just stop working together altogether. Now I want you to take a couple normal deep breaths, not thinking about anything, and see what your habits are. You just take some deep breaths and exhale them. Notice what your body is doing. You can put a hand on your belly and a hand on your chest. I feel both expand, but mostly in my belly. And the important part is when you exhale, your belly is contracting and engaging and flattening. That way your pelvic floor and diaphragm are allowed to go up the way they want to. If you notice you were doing the opposite, you're doing chest to belly on the exhale, then you're going to want to incorporate some of these exercises that incorporate breathing and core together. So one easy one you can do is just standing or kneeling or even lying on the ground. But I'll do standing for the purpose of the visuals of this video so you can easily see what's going on. Okay, I'm going to have a good posture when I stand. Okay, I'm going to put my hand on my stomach. You can put it on your chest or your back. Now, I'm going to take a big inhale, filling my belly. Okay, big inhale into my belly, and my lower back is allowed to arch a little bit. The reason I want this is because when you exhale, then you can feel the movement of your pelvis that, okay, yes, now my deep core is engaging and bringing my pelvis to a neutral state. If I were to breathe and then engage like this, we're not truly engaging because we're still arched. So getting that pelvic movement helps us to know when we're disengaged and when we're engaged. Okay, so you're going to take a big inhale, big exhale, engage everything in. Think about the lowest part of your core coming in. Obliques are trying to wrap in here, and ribs are tucking down. You should feel the pelvis get to a neutral state. So let's do that again. You see that movement? Okay, belly button goes to spine, ribs go down. One big mistake you don't want to do is to exhale and you're sucking in and then your ribs flare out. Key component is tucking those ribs down as well so we know we are engaging properly. So let's do 10 breaths together. Big inhale. Let your lower back arch a little. Big inhale. Exhale. Belly button to spine, ribs down. Really, you can touch at the bottom of your core if you're not used to engaging down here to wake it up. Say, hey, we're engaging now. Making sure the whole time we're keeping good posture and we're not tempted to, okay, no hunching in this. Beautiful. So if you're doing that properly, it should get pretty tiring in your core. That's amazing. So now we're building the habit of, okay, our diaphragm, our pelvic floor, and our deep core muscles are working together to have a healthy breath mechanic. No strain, no opposition. When it comes to kegels, a lot of people do kegels in isolation. The reason I don't like this is because it teaches your pelvic floor to work on its own when it was meant to work as a unit with your breath, diaphragm, core, and the rest of your body. Your pelvic floor should equally know how to relax as it knows how to contract. So if you're only contracting, it becomes a hypertonic or over tight pelvic floor, and that can actually make it weaker, and then you'll experience different things like leaking, pain with sex, or general pain, or even lead to things like prolapse. The way I love to incorporate a Kegel is within our breathing and our deep core exercises. So with the exercise that we just did, you can easily incorporate a Kegel there. So if you remember how the pelvic floor and the diaphragm work together, when you breathe in, they're moving down. That means the pelvic floor is relaxing. This is its time to open up. When you exhale, they're going to move up. Here's where you incorporate your Kegel, okay? So inhale and then exhale and think about lifting your pelvic floor or a gentle Kegel or flex in that pelvic floor on the exhale. Let it relax on the inhale. Exhale, lift it up as everything comes in here. Again, inhale and exhale, lift up, bring in here. Okay, so with that, your pelvic floor is now being taught to work together again instead of try to do everything on its own and get super stuck in place. You can do simple breathing exercises like that, but we can also incorporate that breath, that engagement, and the pelvic floor lift with all of our lifting exercises. Okay, so if you're coming back from prolapse or trying to fix leaking, this is what you would want to do with all of your lifts until it becomes a habit. It's going to feel tedious at first, but this will make a big difference. So we'll use a squat as our example, okay? So whenever we are trying to integrate our breath and deep core into a lift, we are always inhaling on the easy part because that's when things are more relaxed, and we're exhaling, contracting, lifting on the hard part, okay? With a squat, we are going to stay engaged. We're not going to do the big belly, big arch because that is not stable especially if you are weight bearing. So we're staying engaged here. Okay, we're going to take a big inhale. You'll probably notice a thicker, more relaxed appearance. That's fine as long as you're mostly engaged. Okay, so I'll put my hands up so you can see. So inhale as we're going down. Exhale. Reinforce that engagement, lift the pelvic floor as you come up. So inhale, exhale, and lift. Okay, inhale, exhale, lift the pelvic floor, reinforce that engagement at the top. Inhale, exhale, You can incorporate that with every exercise most of the time. Just think about inhaling down, exhaling up with the lift and reinforcement of the core. This will not only teach your breath and core and pelvic floor how to sync together again with movement and exercise, but it will also help you manage the pressure put on your core and pelvic floor better when you are lifting. Now, last thing we're going to do is my favorite technique for reconnecting to your core and pelvic floor. If we've had years and years of bad habits, maybe had a few babies that have put a lot extra strain on our pelvic floor and core, we're going to be very disconnected and it's going to be a lot weaker. Now, if we're disconnected and weak and then we go right into trying to do a lot of these exercises or trying to incorporate it into our lifting, it might not go as well as we want. So this technique will help us get connected, because if you can't even sense your breath into your pelvic floor, it's going to be very hard to do a Kegel or sense if you're doing too much, too little. So we want to get connected. This is called the full core connection breath, and technically our core is considered our pelvic floor up to our throat. So this breathwork technique is going to help us connect to that whole area. We're going to do a few minutes of it together or a few breaths of it together. But normally you would be doing 5 to 10 minutes of this daily, or however much time you need to feel like you connected really well or made some progress. Okay, so what you're going to do is lie down on your back with your knees bent up and feet flat on the ground. Your arms can be out to the sides or resting on different parts of your body to help you connect. Okay, I'm going to put my arms up like this. I don't want you to do this because I want your ribs to be relaxed down, but I'm just putting it up so you can see what's going on better. First area we are going to breathe into is our belly. So we're trying to breathe as big as we can into our belly and just letting it naturally recoil as we exhale. So we're not forcing the exhale, we're not flexing or anything. You shouldn't be flexing at all in this. It should be pure breath. Okay, so big inhale into the belly. Natural exhale out. After you've done 3 to 5 breaths into your belly, we're going to move the breath into the front and side of our ribs. Okay, so we're accumulating the areas. So we're still going into our belly, but we're adding in the front and side of ribs. Okay, so begin to inhale into the belly and ribs. You can touch here to kind of encourage your ribs to expand out to the sides. Touch here. Expand up. Going at your own pace. Don't worry about how fast I'm going. This shouldn't be rushed. Still into belly, ribs, and sides of ribs. Okay. You can spend more time here if you feel like you were struggling with the ribs before adding. I always recommend spend enough time somewhere where you start to feel the breath moving in the area. If you're not feeling it yet, stay there. Okay. Then after this, we want to add lower back. Okay. So we're breathing into the belly, sides of ribs, and the lower back. Okay. So belly, ribs, lower back. Inhale. Good. So you should feel when you inhale, your lower back kind of moves towards the floor a little bit. Ribs are still coming out to the side and up. Belly is coming up. Remember to stay relaxed. You don't want to move or flex to try to force breath into areas. You want to stay relaxed the whole time. Big inhale. Good. After 3 to 5 breaths here, you can go longer if you were struggling in the lower back. But if you felt it in the lower back, your next step would be chest and upper back. Okay, so we're still breathing into our belly, top of ribs, side of ribs, lower back, chest, and upper back. Okay, so you might notice your breathing is taking longer because you're taking your time to sense each area. That is perfect. No need to rush. Take those big breaths. And sense all the areas. Good. Once you've done 3 to 5 breaths there, you might need more if you were struggling up here. Your last two areas are your pelvic floor and your throat. Okay, so we're still breathing into our belly, top of ribs, side of ribs, lower back, chest, upper back, throat, and pelvic floor. Okay, big inhale. Now this is the last step, but it's the hardest for a lot of people because it feels like your breath has to go so far down and so far up. So since it's the last step, you're going to do the rest of your breath work, filling all the areas, really trying to get to your pelvic floor, really trying to get to your throat. Day one, if you don't feel it at all, don't be discouraged. Some people have to take a few days, a few weeks to get that connection. If you're consistent with it each day, you will get there. So now you'll notice when you're doing this breath work, if you're going into all the areas, your belly is not going to go as tall because your breath is traveling to all the areas and not just your belly anymore. If you feel some shaking as you're inhaling, shaking in areas that you're trying to expand, that's a really good sign. That's your body trying to open up. So keep at it. Good. Okay, so you're always following that sequence, starting with your belly, going to side and front of ribs, then lower back, then upper back and chest, and then pelvic floor and throat. Okay, you're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes at least there each day. Doing it daily will be huge in progressing. You can do this actually as long as you like. If you want to go 15 or 20 minutes, that's great too. To recap, I want you to start with that full core connection breath work to even see how connected you are. And if if you find out, well, I'm like really disconnected, that's great. That means we have a huge room for improvement, and we can work on connecting to these areas, relaxing these areas. And then once we're more connected, we are going to be able to perform our deep core, our breath, and integrating that into regular exercises in daily life a lot easier. If you're going to do that breath work daily, you can do that breathing, deep core engagement work up to 4 times a week, maybe more if you're feeling really good. And then practice incorporating your breath, the kegel, and the deep core working together in your deep core work, in your regular lifts, your squats, your lunges, whatever you're doing. Okay, I hope this was really helpful. Comment below if you have questions or anything to add. Thanks for following along. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you.